Instead of cooking lunch with everyone, they go out and buy, I want to make a sandwich for myself, not with everybody else. So they go out by themselves, buy their things, come back, make it with their support worker that they chose.
So much more autonomy.
And that's what it made. It's an amazing system that really changed the way people can use their time.
And actually have true quality of life.
Welcome to Stay Legendary, a podcast about showing up, being kind, and doing the work that matters. Enjoy, legends.
Welcome to episode 4 of Stay Legendary. So we like to have conversations here that are just raw and honest and actually matter. So today I'm very excited because we have the wonderful Joel Scott with us.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. Can you just give us an intro to who you are, what you do, where you're at, all the good stuff?
Yeah. I'm Joel. I work at Life Care Assist and SDA and housing provider. I have worked in SIL and direct support for 17 years in all different settings, from day services, personal support, so one-to-one, and training centres, so institutions and group homes.
Awesome. Okay. Given all of that, because obviously given it's 17 years, this is predating the NDIS and the space that we're currently in. So can you run us through where you started and what that looked like and talk us through those different milestones and transitions?
Yeah. Absolutely. When I started in day programs, it was around the corner from one of the training centres in Colac. We would support people in a very traditional centre. I was almost 16 then. Then when I turned 18, I was working in one-to-one support in the community, mostly for acquired brain injury and spinal injury.
Right.
Went around to people's houses. Around the same time, I started working at an institution in Colac. So that was Commander Training Centre. So each unit had about 30 people in it. Some had 17 people in them, all different abilities, all different units based on what people needed. High care, high behaviour, all different kinds. It was a really good place to learn. It was a really full-on place to work, but I learned a lot there. There was houses being built and we got offered a job in some of the houses for 6 participants moving out of the institution. So I went there and it's really cool. I did the first sleepover with one client. They'd move in gradually. I remember on the third day, we were cooking something and everyone was yelling, and we realised that it was the first time they'd actually seen and smelt food cooking, not just a truck showing up and food being put in front of them. It was a pretty cool feeling, really strange, but people were part of doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was their house. So for the first time, they got to decorate their house.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a big dorm. In the institution, they still had their own bedrooms, but it was like 6 people would live in a dorm.
Yeah.
Everybody would be open and wandering around and doing things, but
It wasn't very homely.
not homely.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I know now that a 6-person house is not homely,
Yeah.
but back then it was the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
Like, people were calm and relaxed in them from what they worry.
Yeah. Because I can only imagine how overstimulating it would be for some people as well to be in an environment with even 6 people.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
well, but let alone certain people and just constant wandering and roaming and not really being able to self-regulate, having
Yeah.
the space to be able to do that.
That's it. And everyone was often in big open rooms
Yeah.
with people. The floors were lino, so everything made a lot of noise and everything echoed. Personal care in the mornings, you had to be fast. And things had to be done because it was 1 staff to 6 people, often or more. So then when we moved into the house, there was 2 staff to 6 people, which was, we all thought it was easy.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have that before. And then now there's 1 staff to 1 person or 2 people or 3 people, and that is insane.
Yeah, like the
what it was.
minimum we typically see now is the 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Which is basically what you're saying.
That's it.
But a lot of the time we're still having people say that it's not sufficient. You're not getting the same degree of attention and curated support that's needed. So like even if you have a couple of blocks of one-to-one sprinkled throughout the day in the roster, it's still not the same. So imagine 1 to 6. So, okay, I want to backtrack for a second because you started off at 15 in day programs. Most people, their first job is Macca's. So what kind of drove you towards that?
I've got some relatives with a disability, but we had family friends that worked in the training centre or the institution, and they used to bring people out when I was a kid. We lived on a lot of acres, and they'd come out and play, and I always used to have fun. playing with the kids there. When I was at school, they went around offering school-based apprenticeships, all the trading things, or disability.
Wow.
I didn't like school.
So kind of like VCAL.
Yeah, it was bigger. I actually did disability and mechanic, automotive. Hated automotive. I've
I was
never
going to say
done
my
anything
car's
on my car.
outside, so if you want to...
These hands do not pass. I went to a really small school, 4 of us, in year 10, 11 and 12. The mate wanted to do auto, but he didn't want to do it by himself. I did it too, because I'm like, why not? Through the apprenticeship, I got to work at a supported employment that was designs and printing a cafe, helping people wait on tables and take orders. And then there was a day program. I did little stints in the other 2, the supported employments, but I preferred the day program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. I think you said your family members would bring out to the acreage that you
Yeah.
lived on basically when you were younger. Do you think, because I think about that now, we've moved somewhere ourselves that there's far more land and greenery and just nature to
Yes.
be immersed in. But then obviously with Melbourne expanding at the rapid rate that it has and blocks getting smaller and smaller, that is less common. Like yards are generally
Much less common.
yeah, very small. Do you think that that's something that made a difference when you compare the environments, let's just say in regional areas where people might have had?
Huge.
Yeah.
Also, there was less red tape
Yeah.
for them as well. You would support everybody onto a bus and go out for the day.
Yeah.
And back then, they weren't just the little couple of people in a bus. It was like a 30-person bus. So you could take people and go out for an entire day, take all the staff. Everybody would go to the beach for a whole day or go to a farm somewhere. You see nature for the day.
Yeah, just get your
Because
toes
why
in the
not?
grass.
Yeah.
Like, just
That's
get
it.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that is really missing now. Shout out to Payless, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you've
Love
used
Payless.
Payless
Yeah.
before. But I feel like that's where we see quite a bit of success with them, with a number of the legends that we work with, because they are doing stuff that is, it's out there, it's adventure, it's capacity building in a sense, but it's more just activities and getting out there
I
and
love
being
the stuff
in
they do.
nature. I really
Cool
feel
stuff.
like that's what makes a difference now, because there's a time and place for everything, and obviously there are your stock standard supports that need to take place at home, in the community, taking people to shopping centres, appointments and stuff like that. But to really get that engagement and to get people
Yeah.
out in different environments that are, there's so much less stimulus as well.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, when I'm going back home, like Delhi brand, and the same with you guys, when you feel it too, you feel calm.
yeah,
But after you leave the city, you're like,
yeah,
it's that
Zen.
calming feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
totally.
That's it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So back to your journey. Obviously the NDIS was then introduced.
Yep. Yep.
And so, you know, it went from like this, you kind of experienced this huge change from it being like 30 people in a space to now 6 people in a space. And then you have the NDIS rollout. Talk to me about that and like what that transition was like
Yeah.
for you experiencing it.
Well, it rolled out where I was, and funding started coming in for participants who were supporting. And suddenly people, instead of going to their day programs that they've gone to for 20 years, started having support workers took about to do what they wanted to do, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember one dude, we worked with him and organised, he just wanted to try surfing. He's in a wheelchair with cerebral palsy, not much speech, but he always wanted to try it.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, how do we do something like this? And an awful lot of risk assessments throughout it, many other things like that. But anyway, let's try. And it took a few months to get it going, but he did. So we went to Torquay and surfed there.
God.
They had all these different things. So we went into the water in like a wheelchair that had big inflatable wheels, and then put onto a surfboard and surf with somebody there. He fell in so many times and laughed his head off every time too. But it was really cool to actually do it. And then people would go and do like, just instead of being with 2 or 3 or 4 other people to go out and buy something from the supermarket or something, they can go by themselves.
Yeah.
And instead of cooking lunch with everyone, they go out and buy, I want to make a sandwich for myself, not with everybody else.
Yeah.
So they go out by themselves, buy their things, come back, make it with their support worker that they chose, and it was really cool
Yeah.
and really different. And so people having actual goals that were so overwhelming because they'd never had that. And these weren't people that come from community settings. They were people that come out of institutionalized living, so very different. Once they got those choices and started to realize the things that they could do, that actually take a lot of thought into, wow, I can actually do this stuff.
Yeah.
And then holidays and other things, and just go and see their family without other people
Oh my
going
goodness. Yeah.
as well. We used to plan somebody to go from Colac to Geelong to go and see their mum. We'd drop them off at the mum's house, have everybody else on the bus, say we'll be back at this spot in 90 minutes because everybody else needed to be somewhere else. And it was the weekend. Everybody had so many things on. Whereas when NDIS came, somebody else would take you.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to worry about everybody else. He could take 5 hours if he wanted to and do his own thing. And it was all up to him.
So much more autonomy.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what it made. It's an amazing system that really changed the way people can use their time. Yeah.
And actually have about true quality of life. And I think that's a huge thing because very often there are a lot of pitfalls and drawbacks.
Huge.
And a number of issues that we come across, like systemic issues. But then when you compare and contrast to what it was before to what's available now, it's pretty clear that there is a significant improvement in the quality of life that is available.
It's complete chalk and cheese. So I moved to Melbourne later, and the IS hadn't rolled out there. It was still a couple of years away, and I worked still in SIL, and then I moved across to case management for a little while under department. And I was in the short-term team. So what you would do is go out to a person's house, assess them, write a report. So you put them on the DSR, so the Disability Support Register. And that meant that they needed support, whatever kind of supports they needed, and you would write down the funding that they need. But in those moments when they really needed support, I could give, it was either $1,800 or $2,000 gift card as a support that you could go to somewhere, was it Moira or somewhere like that at the time, to get that support, which paid for not a whole lot. Or you could wait for somebody else to pass away that needed the same level of support as you, which could take years. Then you would get that level of support. Or the parents would have to relinquish you to hospital or police. Then you would get supports straight away. Whereas the parents would just have to keep looking after you at home with no supports at all. Whereas now, the system still has issues. And it'll always have issues, and hopefully some of them are ironed out. But in comparing that to now, I'd much rather have the system that we've got.
Oh yeah, because it's demoralizing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very demoralizing.
Absolutely. I used to sit there and talk to parents that were in their 80s, and mum was diagnosed with cancer and didn't have long to go, and dad had a heart attack, and they were both still lifting their son out of his wheelchair and putting him in a shower and stuff and doing things. And you would have to say to them, I think you need to take him to the hospital and say goodbye for like a month. And then go and see him wherever he is, but you have no other choice.
Oh my gosh, and how damaging that would be to think about for all parties involved psychologically, because no parent wants to do that.
No.
And we still see that. It's not that we don't still have conversations about relinquishment of care. We very often do have those conversations. And sadly, I think there are better pathways available now, and people that are far more informed about the intersection between potentially sometimes there is an element of family violence. Do we have concerns about the parent's capability of caring for this young person, but then overlaying that with the complexity of this younger person's disability and presentation? We still hear it when there's parental responsibility. But where is that line drawn? Because it's not clear where parental responsibility starts and ends. And it's so subjective from one case to another. And when you're thinking about parents now, majority of families are two-income households, and then you still have a child that requires 24 hours of care. They're refusing school attendance. You're now putting the whole family at risk. And so then there are those conversations about relinquishment of care, but then on the other side of that, relinquishment isn't the solution either, because then you're talking about placing a child with complex and special needs into a residential care setting that is not equipped or facilitated with the skills to manage caring for them. And you're then likely going to have this young person bounced around from one place to another. And then psychologically, how damaging that would be for the family unit and for the young person.
And trauma. Like, for that person, if there's other kids involved, for the family, everything. And there's no easy solution for any of it, especially out of home care kids. They're the ones that still the families get left behind so much in those, because most of them are struggling day to day with all the things they've got going on, and money as well. Nothing's cheap. for free, and it's hard, and everything takes a long time as well.
And even when you think about the typical NDIS plan for a young person, it's void of core supports majority of the time. So you don't have funding for support workers as a standard. There are exceptions to that rule, but it's not common. And then you'll have it very heavily loaded with funding for therapies for capacity building. But when you think about the point of therapies and having allied health practitioners come in, assess, and make recommendations, it's like if I go to the physio and I'm like, hey, I've had a stiff neck, they'll do some manipulation, but they always send you home with exercises. And those exercises are what make the difference in terms of maintaining the mobility that you've now regained and then improving that area and that problem area moving forward. And so it's like much the same. That's a very simplistic example, but it's much the same when you think about behavior support practitioner coming in or a speechy coming in, giving you suggestions for different communication styles, different tools you can use, different de-escalation strategies. But if the parents don't have the capacity, like they have other kids that they're still needing to care for, they have a job, how are they going to implement these things? So you're sort of throwing money at therapists who are coming in once a fortnight, doing an amazing job in the time that they have allotted to them, but that's not what moves the needle.
That's it. Whereas if you've got support workers and good support workers, they're going to do a really good job of that, of keeping it up. But without those supports in place, parents are going to fade and fall down because they're going to go, well, what can we do? What can we do to make this easier? I remember supporting a family when I was a case manager, and mum and dad were lawyers. They had both had multiple mental breakdowns. They were both on the spectrum. Their two kids, so son and daughter, were both on the spectrum as well. The son was 14 and he was 145 kilos and 5 foot tall, but they would go on big holidays every year to Europe and they would drug him up as much as they possibly could to get him through the plane trip. Once they got where they were going, he was just medicated in the hotel room most of the time. But it was literally so they could go somewhere. And their daughter was not much different. They couldn't have support workers because the two siblings were too dangerous for everyone and had hurt them so many times. They wanted help and they wanted things. But because the parents were so broken and tired, every time something would happen, they would go against all the allied health advice. For every possible thing to just give their kids what they thought they needed in that moment just to keep them calm. And it was horrible to watch because you went, well, this is never going to change and these parents are going to struggle and struggle and struggle always. But it was such a hard thing. Now, hopefully their situation is different, but at the time it was just...
No, and I think it also, the problem is you'll have a conversation, for example, with a planner who's like, all right, so this is where your behavior support practitioner is meant to come in and help out with this, that, and the third. And so then the bar of expectations is set like here. And then the actual function of behavior support intervention isn't that it's just them talking at you and telling you what to do. The whole point of it is that there's a feedback loop of like, hey, we've tried this thing that you've recommended. This is what we found was fruitful and actually made a difference. This actually pissed them off way more. So we're not going to do that again. And then the behavior support practitioner is able to iterate from there and take from that information and over time understand the function of the behavior. Over time, understand what triggers may be there and be able to identify that early through trends, but that requires a feedback loop. And so parents that are already burnt out, don't have the capacity, don't have the time, still need to look after their other kids, get them fed, bathed, to school, to bed, give them a quality of life. A lot of the time protect them if there are behaviors that are sometimes physical aggression and stuff like that can put them at harm and at risk. How on earth are they going to be expected to kind of feed that information back and be like, matter of fact, can you track these incidents for us to this degree of detail? That's not feasible. And then they start to lose faith in the actual therapy.
They fall away as well.
And
go, I won't bother with another appointment because what did it even do? It didn't fix everything. When it needs all these other things in place to fix it. But it's years ago, so before NDIS, there was really good parents groups that were around and they would actually be supported. They would come together and talk about issues. And there was volunteer groups that would actually go out and support people's kids while they were going to these family groups. And they were a really big thing and they were in all different suburbs, they were in regional areas, they did really good. And people would get support and understanding that they weren't the only ones in situations like that. I feel like now, I don't know if it still exists, I don't hear about it very often. And things like that were just such a really good morale booster of you're not going through this alone. Your struggle is our struggle kind of deal, which we all talk about in the sector because we work in it.
Yeah.
But if parents are at home dealing with that and they just can't escape it and they're just going to work, if they've got other people to go on an outlet to, and not Facebook, because Facebook is just such a breeding ground of negativity and anger and people putting each other down. It was in person, so people would actually be friendly and helpful and supportive of each other. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then people would build relationships and they call each other on their landlines.
Yes.
And have conversations. It worked really well.
Yeah.
But now that isn't around anymore, and it needs to be, because people need...
People are so much more isolated now.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when you're isolated, it feels like you're the only one. Even though you know, logically, statistically, all of those things, you are not the only person experiencing this. You are not the only person caring for someone with high needs or complex needs. But when you're in it, you're not able to rationalize it in that way. And then it also doesn't give you much comfort. Versus when you speak to someone who's like, yeah, man, my week last week was rough. And then it's like, okay, you perfectly express what I feel.
Yeah.
And then I feel like quite often there's an element of guilt as well, because a lot of parents are like, they want to do and give their children the best. And they're fighting against so many roadblocks, and then it's so difficult. I find that we very often work with complex kiddos, and they are actually my favorite cases to work, because I feel like firstly, the NDIS funds, when there's a recognition of the complexity, the funding is more reflective of it, where we're able to make more of a difference by building a solid care team, by really building the systems around it, and then by being able to get to know the family, being able to get to know what's important to that family. We have certain families that, although in any other instance, we would be like, oh, man, you guys need respite. Like, you guys need this. And then there are certain families that are like, we refuse to do that. Culturally, we're not there. Also, no one is going to care for our kid in the way that we will. And then I get it, because from my cultural background, I can totally see and hear that. And so you get to know those nuances and really have it build up a real relationship with them as a family unit. And then you get the longevity in that relationship, where we're working with them over 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and then seeing their child transition into adulthood and stuff like that. But it's heartbreaking as well, because very often that, like, as much as you do and as much as you want to do, it's the burden that the family carries is just enormous. And
it's huge. It's huge. And it's really hard to know how to support each one as well. Like, everyone's going through something different, and people are very good at not saying things that bother them as well. People want to just go, it's okay, I've got this. Depending on their culture as well, depends how much they're going to say or who they're going to say it to. And how does that work for different people too? And having a support worker as well, if they're even funded for that. Does it work for them? How? What's the culture you need? What actual support do you need? Or is it just somebody to talk to? To say, my day is shit. Help.
And I also think how incredible the system is when it works here. When you have kids that are, again, like very complex, high needs, nonverbal, for instance, and then you add onto that puberty. And then the parents navigating that. But can I compare it to imagine what a child going through that would be experiencing if they were in like a resi care setting? And how pivotal that could be in terms of it being like a more positive outcome versus potentially a very negative outcome. Because where there isn't a room for understanding and forgiveness and stuff like that, we ultimately do live in a society that you're going to get people from all different realms of understanding. And so if you start having a young person exhibiting some of these sometimes inappropriate behaviors that then come with puberty in public, you are now also putting them at risk of being accused of different things. And
massive.
And then they become an adult, and then the consequences are humongous.
That's it. I used to work with a guy in a house, and he was so funny, but he was so flirty as well. And he, like, really funny dude and loved to dance and do all these things, and he really wanted to go clubbing. But we were all really scared to take him. And it was because he didn't visually look like he had a disability. And that was good, because he wanted a job and he wanted all these things, and it worked for him really well. However, he would be inappropriate with his flirting and with the things that he said. he had different training and assessments and things with OTs and BSPs and stuff on healthy relationships and things like that. But he would just get excited and carried away.
Yeah.
Which was like, you would deal with it really well in a closed environment. But when he was out, he would attract people that weren't very happy with what he was doing. And he wasn't meaning things by it, but it was really hard to explain to the person who had just flirted with the girlfriend. And the boyfriend was really unhappy with what had just happened. And it's like, I'm sorry, he's not meaning this. But it was really hard. I also worked in a kids respite in Warragul for a while before NDIS. So we would support kids from, the youngest one was 5 would come in, and we'd have all different weeks and weekends where different age groups would come, but it went up to 17. And there was weekends where there was kids that would come normally and they were mixed sexes and it was fine. However, there was a couple that went through puberty at different times and we had to change who came on what weekends because the behaviour changes and the things that would happen for everyone's safety, but it was mostly because they were just struggling with what was going on, non-verbal autism, and just like acting out in all different ways because they just didn't know what was going on. And it was really sad to watch, but also the parents were just going to us, what do we do? It's a very hard one because their kids had come from really calm kids to, well, not.
Yeah, I mean, puberty is rough, period.
Absolutely. It messes with everyone. Right?
Okay, so talk to me about Life Care Assist SDA. So you're obviously super well versed in SIL, in day programs, in respites, and that side of direct support. Then we're making a move to SDA. Obviously, that's different.
Yeah, very different. Working in SIL after NDIS, like SDA rolled out, I supported a lot of people to move into different SDAs, houses, apartments, units, whatever it was, all over. And then an opportunity came up to move into SDA. And I met with the team at Life Care Assist and said, we just need to do this differently. So there's so many houses out there that are built and then people can come and live in them. I'm like, what we need to do is build with them. So people come to us, they tell us what they need, what they want, how they like things. So that's what we do. So we have an architect, we've got a colour consultant, we've got builders where people meet, they choose the tiles they like, the wall colour they like, layouts can be changed, all things like that. We've got some bedrooms with more sound deadening in them than other parts of the house because that's what the person needs. So we build all cool locations for what people want and how they want. Our builds are done by Boring Group, who is a lot of people that are coming out of incarceration that need work. They jump on our sites and start building. A lot of people are given apprenticeships to join the workforce properly and they get jobs in their local communities as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So going back to what we touched on earlier, going from basically dorm settings and no sense of homeliness to now the ultimate.
Yeah.
The ultimate.
Yeah.
Like, you can pick what color you want your room.
That's it.
You can pick what features are important to you for your space.
Yeah.
That is a gigantic difference from once was to now is.
Well, what our new thing is that's coming, it's not here yet, it's coming, still a while away. We're actually going to open up a display home where people can come in and choose based on a house that would look like something similar to your house.
Oh, I love that.
And you can choose things, you can look at the colours, you can touch the tiles, you can choose the taps that you have and the colours of them, so then it's your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I used to collect for display home, well, for a build-up.
Yep.
And I worked at their display homes. I used to love them.
Yes.
I used to love them because it was like, look at all of the possibilities. I think we also
Right.
had the bells and whistles, obviously, in the display homes. But I loved it. It's very different to looking at swatches. you know,
Exactly.
To being able
Exactly.
to actually see it
Yeah.
and interact with it.
Because I like give people colours, and I'm a touchy-feely kind of person where I want to know what it looks like when it's done.
Yeah.
Just having a picture of this as a colour, do you want that on your wall? I'm like, but I want to see it on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I
And then
can't
want that on the
visualise
tap.
that.
What's it going to look like with that tap as well?
That's it.
You know?
That's it. So having 3 or 4 bathrooms set up with all different designs, different taps, different fittings, different things, and some layouts so people can go in and feel and touch it and know what is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So what's the estimated timeline for the first display?
So that one will be about 6 months away.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is really exciting.
So party at display home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That'll be there and people can come and look at it all the time and look through. I'm really excited because we just wanted to do something different. The team at Life Care Assist are very, I would say like me, we all want to think outside the box and not do things like other people are doing and give people the choices that everyone else has. Yeah. So like you worked a display home, people could come in and choose that. Why can't people with a disability with this funding that they can come in and do it? Like, what's the difference?
Exactly.
So we just wanted to do that, and I think it'd be really cool.
So are you guys going to have the display room as like, obviously with SDA, some people out there might not have actually interacted with SDA or had much to do with it to understand the different types of builds, but you've got improved livability, high physical, you've got fully accessible, and then you've got robust.
Yep.
So with the display homes, are you going to have it be just one model, or is it going to be different rooms display a different function or SDA build?
So there will be 3 different builds. We also build Aboriginal housing and affordable housing. So there'll be some of those models there as well as SDA to show. Our robust one, we probably won't have that there, but we are working on a design at the minute to be stronger, but in the same suburbs, so the inner suburbs as well. Yeah. And some purpose-built ones in regional too, where people want, but it'll have a mix of single units and then 3 participant houses.
I think that's going to be really helpful because even from a support coordination perspective, we're speaking to the NDAs, we're getting assessments, we're speaking to OTs that are making recommendations for certain build categories based on one of the participants' presentations that we're working with. But a lot of support coordinators, I can pretty confidently say, wouldn't actually understand the nuance or the difference between fully accessible and high physical, for example.
Well, in Gisborne, we are building a home for 3 fellas that have known each other for a long time, and then across the road, 3 ladies as well. Now, 2 of the guys in one of the homes have visual impairment. So the whole 3 of them are funded for improved livability. However, it's easier to put in a bit of extra money and build high physical support because it means they can age in place if they want to.
Yeah.
So it's a home for life.
I love that.
So in improved livability, the only difference is contrasting. So it's colours that are different. So we've gone through with our colour consultant and an OT for different builds and gone, okay, so the floor needs to be this, and then it's a 30-degree something. It's 30 something that means a different colour to each part. Right. So then the doorway and around the doorway is a different colour. Yeah. So they need to recognise that with a certain visual impairment.
Yeah, okay.
So we're doing that along all the builds. Robust different, of course, but in the high fees. Yeah. Because then whether you have a visual impairment, it should work for a lot. Yeah. And it just adds those kind of dimensions in.
Yeah, I love that. And I think being able to have the option of a place for even support coordinators.
Yes.
To be able to go in.
Well, most haven't seen them. So often when I'm talking about a house, they're like, oh, I've never seen one. Yeah. And it's a lot of OTs that haven't either.
Yeah, which is wild.
It's wild, right? Because they write these 30-page reports that are based on what a person needs. And I'm like, but you need to go to them because they're so different. Yeah. Each one. And just saying somebody needs a house, there's all these different things that go into a house that you need to look into as well. Yeah.
One of the very first participants that I worked with to transition them into an SDA property, she had been stuck in CCU for like a year and a half. Like we were stuck with trying to get her discharged from there. So it was huge when we even got to this point and I found this property. And so I was like, I'm going with you to see this place. Yeah. Like I'm going to be there with you because I want to know what I'm talking to you about, but then also what I'm talking to, if I'm referring to support workers, if I'm referring to other therapists and stuff like that, I want to have an understanding of what I'm talking about as well. Yeah. Because everything on paper can look one way, but that leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
Huge.
And so like even when you're saying 30 degrees or 30, whatever the measure is, the difference, I'm like, okay, but what's that unit of measure? I don't actually understand that. So then to be able to see it, it's not this floating concept in my head. It makes sense.
That's it. Yeah. And it works. There's all different levels of grey, and then there's enough, like all that, and it just...
Some may say there are 50 shades of grey, Joel.
Well, there you go.
Some may say
So many different.
No, I think that's awesome. And I think we've had a separate conversation about something like stay tuned, but potentially we may do something at one of the display homes.
Yes.
That would be a really great opportunity for support coordinators to be able to come and actually
Absolutely.
interact with and see what we're talking about and see what these reports are recommending and suggesting. And also give you more context when you're like scrolling on the housing hub and looking for a property to know what you're actually looking for and setting a participant up to step into.
Yeah. That's it. And SDA homes are so different. I remember when the first ones built, right? They had one bathroom for everyone in the middle of the house.
Yeah.
Now everyone has an ensuite.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
there's a basketball court in the one in Gisborne that we're building.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is
So you
sick.
have everything. But yes.
But that's the other
Absolutely.
thing. I worked with a participant once before where they were funded at a 1-to-3 ratio for SIL, which was reflective of the level of support that they required. I would agree with that. However, they were not keen on sharing a bathroom with anyone because cleanliness was so important.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so they did not want to share a bathroom with two other strangers and you don't know how they live.
Don't know.
And you have no control over, like, they could be rotating. So even if you got the best housemates, that could change in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years. And so that was like a huge limitation.
Massive.
So even just having en suites now for every bedroom.
That's it. That's it. And live in your own space.
Yeah,
Have your bathroom how you want to have your bathroom.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
why not? We do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, you want the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I love as well that Life Care Assist is doing things differently and you guys have acquired this workforce in a way that is so unique and I haven't come across this before, but you're creating opportunities for gainful and meaningful employment. It's a transition pathway, essentially like a supported transition pathway from incarceration back into the community and giving people opportunities to develop life skills, build a CV,
Yeah.
explore different interests and earn an income as well. I love that. So can you talk to me a little bit more about Braun Group and what you guys are doing with them as well?
So they do a lot of men's wellbeing programs, but also mostly employment. They do different employment things and we went to them and said, would you be interested in building our houses with us and building with us? They had also come to us about housing for people in their community. So majority are from Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander communities. So we worked together and went, what's better than building for your own community?
Yeah.
So, and giving people a job so then they can feel fulfilled and happy in what they're doing. So people are actually doing it. It's working. People are being supervised on site as well because there's building supervisors. People are going through apprenticeships at the same time. There's really great people a part of all of this and people have had some really great outcomes, but also building Aboriginal housing and affordable housing as well for their own community. People are proud of what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
And for us, it was more, we didn't want to work with another big building company that probably has plenty of money, like community for community. There's a purpose to it. Yeah.
It's awesome. This would be a good shout out as well for Dadi Braun Group's smoking ceremonies that they have as well
Absolutely.
and offer. So what we'll do is we'll put information in the description with a link to the website and also some information on their sessions because I think it's 2 mornings a week that they do the smoking ceremony. And
Sure is. It's awesome.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for extending that invitation to us because that was the first time that I got to experience that as well. And it was such a beautiful way to connect with a huge group of people that everyone was there for different reasons, from different backgrounds. It felt like a true sense of community. Welcome to our new segment, which is What Would a Hero Do? And it's where we take community questions from around the disability space and that we find on the internet and we give our unsolicited opinions, which we are great at doing. So today's question comes from Reddit. You ready?
Ready?
To read to you from Reddit?
Bring it on.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm really eager to get into the field of disability support work, but I'm currently starting with no hands-on experience, especially when it comes to working with people on the autism spectrum or those with mental health or intellectual disabilities. I'm so passionate about helping others, and I truly feel like this is the kind of work I'm meant to do. I'm naturally patient, compassionate, and supportive. I want to commit to learning and growing in this space, but a part of me doubts I'll be a good enough support worker without prior life experience. That said, I'd love some guidance from those already in the field. There's a few specific things I'd love your advice on. Where is the best place to start learning about autism and mental disabilities, especially from a support worker perspective? Any courses, books, YouTube channels, or lived experience content that you'd recommend?
Most of the best support workers that I've met have come from something else and then they're jumping in. The big thing here is that you're open to learning. It's huge, massive. And the next step is making sure you choose the right place that has support. So for the next step, I would choose a larger not-for-profit as a place to go and work at to start your journey. And the reason I say that is because they have really good training programs to get you started and really good support, and you'll do a fair few shadow shifts before you actually do shifts by yourself. If you go to a smaller provider, you might not have that level of support, and it is confronting when you first start. And even if somebody's been doing this for a long time, going into a new environment can be confronting anyway, because you're meeting new people and doing different things.
Yeah, totally. I would agree. And I reckon that when I think about even just my experience being at uni, and you can learn things on paper, all of the theory in the world, and then you get out into the workforce and it's like, oh, I knew nothing. I knew nothing. I studied for 4 years and I still knew nothing. And so you're going to get the most experience from hands-on experience, and you're never going to have experience without doing the thing. So like in terms of feeling like you need the experience to start, that's impossible. You need to start to get the experience. And so I think something that's really undervalued is like internships. Just like going to a place and volunteering your time. Volunteering somewhere, because you're going to get so much value and insight from people when you're just going to them and you're like, hey, what can I help you with? Because firstly, it's going to give you some insight into what are they time poor with, what are the areas of their role that they maybe struggle with, and that helps you kind of go into it with a troubleshooting lens. But then you're also able to get that hands-on experience without the pressure of it being a paid role where you are expected to perform at a certain level.
Massive.
So I'm a huge proponent for interning whenever you can to get that experience and that exposure. And especially if you're thinking mental health, like just one of the basic things that I would probably consider is just doing a mental health first aid course. It gives you like those foundational knowledge kind of
It's really
bits,
good.
so that
really
then if
good.
you are in like a state of like fight or flight response, like you're in this like really intense moment, you at least have something to rely on that can support you in that moment.
Huge. And the courses and things, so on the NDI's website, there's a few training courses and things which are really good, and some of their videos really good, but don't enroll in a TAFE or anything on like your Cert 3 or 4 or anything like that until you actually start working and you like it, because I've done Cert 3 to 6 and disability. I think it's community services or something now, but I was already working in it and enjoyed it. But the amount of people that I see that are doing the course or finish the course and then they don't feel like the job's the right fit for them, and just do it first. You don't have to have it before you start working, and then you can get a feel for it too. There is like 1,000 different jobs in mental health and disability as well.